Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at this killer classic Queensryche riff all the way back to the EP from 1983. And this is Queen of the Reich. We're going to take a look at the main riffs, intro, the main riffs that go on throughout the verse, and then also the bridge right before the solos. At some point I'll probably do the solos as well, but there's a lot to go over here, so I thought it'd be good to just focus on the rhythm parts. Here's a great classic song and quite a workout for your picking hand if you're not used to this kind of thing. So we're going to get started on that in just a sec. Before we do, make sure to check down below. There's a Patreon link there if you want to get the tab in the guitar profiles for this. Head on over to Patreon and you'll see that. There's a free 7-day window to sign up and get all the good stuff you can get your hands on for free there if you want to check things out. There's a whole bunch more as well. I'm uploading stuff every week. So head on over to Patreon and check this out if you want the tab. And also down below, I've got a cool free gift for you guys. It's called 5 blistering licks to light up your fretboard. So there's a link for that as well. Check that out. It's my free gift to you. All right, so let's get to it. This actually was independently released by the band in 1982. The EP is what I'm talking about here. It had another great song on it called The Lady Wore Black, which is one of my favorite Queensryche songs of all time. And Queen of the Reich. I think those are two classics right out of the gate. And but then afterwards, Capitol Records picked them up in 1983. So technically, this was released to the world in 1983. Soon to be followed up by The Warning, their first full-length album, which was killer. It had Take Hold of the Flame on it, the song The Warning, and a lot of other great classic stuff as well. So this earlier part of Queensryche, I think you can hear some of their metal influences like Iron Maiden in there, maybe a little bit of Judas Priest, that kind of a thing. As they went along, especially with The Warning forward, you could hear some of the progressive elements, and they just had a sound all their own, which is why they're one of my top bands of all time, especially those first 5 records or so. But this is where it all started, and it's a killer riff, man. And so let's get to it. So we're in standard tuning here, and there's 2 guitar parts you might notice on the recording. There's me, and then there's mini me, and I do that just because I think it's good to be able to see both guitar parts at the same time. There's probably even fancier ways to split that up on video, but I'm not that fancy yet, so I'm just doing what I can to present the meat and potatoes, you guys. And so we're gonna get started on this in the key of E, and let's go over the first part here with the simple guitar part that has just power chords, and then I'll show you the other part. So the first part goes, one guitar is doing this E power chord, okay, then it hits it again. This. And the riff. And that riff is played by both guitar parts, as well as the next riff, which is the verse riff. Both guitar parts, both guitar players play that. So nowadays, Michael Wilton does the other part, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm not sure how they broke it up originally, but I'm guessing that's probably what happened. Is Wilton played the other part, and then Chris DeGarmo did the. But could be wrong on that. That's how they do it these days, though, with Michael Wilton doing the other part. So this is very simple, right? We're just the E power chord. You might see me play this sometimes. That's just a fuller version of an E power chord. If you don't know it, like an E power chord would just be open E string, 2nd fret on the A, 2nd fret D, right? You could even just get away with a root 5 power chord with the open E and then the 2nd fret on the A. But what I'm doing here is just laying that down. So open 6th string, 2nd fret on the A, 2nd fret D, 4th fret on the G, 5th fret on the B string. Just let all that ring out nice and glorious. It's a nice full way to play an E power chord. So that's all that is. Now the main riff. And that's it. Okay, so we're gonna play this E power chord here, but there's 4 open E's first. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I'm playing here is an E power chord at the 2nd fret, 4th fret, and 5th fret on the D, G, and B string. So that's a smaller version of this, and it's instead of this, right at the 7th fret and the 9th fret. It sounds the same basically, but it's easier to play the rest of the chords when you're already down here. And that's how the band does it. So you have this. Whoops. Now you're going to do 4 more opens. And then you're going to play a B5 power chord, 2nd fret A string and 4th fret on the D. And then we're going to play a C5 power chord with the 3rd fret on the A, 5th fret on the D. And then we're going to do an open A string and then slide up the C5 power chord to a D5 power chord. Okay, and so what you end up with is right, a little quicker. You know, the chugga-chuggas are in between. When you get to the C, though, you're not doing the chugs anymore. Hit that C twice, open A, and then C5, slide up to D. Okay, that's that whole riff. That's the first part of the riff. The second time is exactly the same, except this time we're going to go and go to a G5 power chord on the 3rd fret on the low E, 5th fret on the A. And that's the entire intro riff. Now, if you put those together, you get right, so make sure you're nice and aggressive with your pick hand. Also, we're doing a lot of muting there, right? So palm muting. Work this up slowly with a metronome or a drum machine if you have trouble with the speed of this. All right. Now the verse riff, we're going to go ahead and go through the verse riff and up through the bridge, and then we'll come back around to the other parts, the Michael Wilton parts. So now the verse riff comes in, and it's a little different. It goes. So this time you're doing a bunch of chugs. Now the way I count it is you're doing 3 groups of 4. So 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to play the 2nd fret A and the 2nd fret D. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a good way to count it. You have 3 groups of 4 or 4, 8, 12 all together before you hit the chord. And then you're going to play this, so you have down, up, down on the low E, and then part of a D major chord here. That's just 5th fret on the A, 4th fret D. So then you're going to play open E again and slide up 4 up to 5, 4, so a C sharp. Now sometimes I'll play it like this, sometimes I'll play it like this. Not really sure which one it is, so let's try this first. So 4 and 6 on the A and D. It doesn't really change the sound much. And then up to a D chord at the 5th fret, 7th fret A and D. Or just play 4 on the A, 7 D, and then slide up your first finger to the 5. Like that. Okay, so here's the first part of the riff. So after you go, do that again. So the second time you do exactly the same. This time you go and then down to an A5 power chord, open A string, 2nd fret on the D. And that's the whole verse riff. Once again, make sure you're palm muting. And that's, you know, you're just resting your palm there at the bridge. If you got a floating trem like mine, you don't want to press down because it'll make it go out of tune. Anyway, that's the verse riff, and then the bridge, or the pre-bridge, so the end of this. And we're going to go to a C, and we're going to do our Iron Maiden gallops. Up to a D. And then we're going to go back to our original riff. Instead of doing this, I think it goes like this. So just from C to D back to C, only on this part here. Little gallops, C5 power chord, up to a D, back to the riff. Okay, let's stop there. So we've got the intro where it's just right, does that, and then we come in with, call that the main riff, and then we come in with the verse riff. Okay, and then we come in with back to the main riff. We come back to this, the gallop, and then we come back to the main riff. On the last time on here, now we're at the bridge, and the bridge chords are just E5, you can play it here or here, down to D, down to C, we're going to play an A5, G, D, A, G, F sharp, so that's A5, G, just the note, then B5, back to A, G, note, and F sharp note. So a little walk down here. That sounds like this. So all that, and it just does that twice. Then the guitar solo. All right, so let's talk about the other part now. So the beginning, let's go back to the beginning, and we'll play Michael Wilton's part, and you'll hear the E. Now I'm going to go ahead and play the E along. Does that twice. Okay, so here's what it is. Open E, and then you're going to play 14 D, 12 G. That's just an E minor, part of an E minor chord. And then open E, and then 12 and 12 on the D and G. Open E, and then 12 and 11 on the D and G. So basically it goes from a G to a D chord there. So here it is without the low E string. Okay, and then the second time it does this. And that's 12 on the D string, 14 G, 12 on the D and G, 7 on the D and G. So here's what we got so far. Notice how I put those low E's in there for accents. If I don't do that, it sounds like this. Can we do this again? The fourth time we do this. So that is 12, 14 D and G, back to 12 and 12 D and G, and then back to 12, 14 D and G. And what we do is repeat that whole thing twice. Okay, so let's do that, and I'll put the accents in. Whoops, let me start over. I started thinking about on the tab. I did put the accents in there so you can follow along that way. And if you only have one guitar player, this is a way to actually do this and still have it make it sound full. All right, here we go. guitar player comes in with this. Now, when Wilton comes in, he starts with a pick slide. And then Wilton's in with the same riff. Pick slide. And then a slide. At least that's how I do it. And okay, and then the last part to show is the bridge. So where guitar 1 is doing this. Guitar 2 is doing this. Let's see. Couldn't think of it just by itself, but so basically you're going 9 and 8 on the G and B, 7 and 8 G and B, 7 and 7 G and B. That's over the E chord. So then over the D, 7 and 7 on the D and G. I'm sorry, 8 and 7, and then on the D and G, and then back to 7 and 7, and then back to 8, 7, and then 7 on the G, 10 on the B and the high. Make sure you grab the tab for this; it'll help a lot instead of me trying to follow along with my explanations here with all these numbers. My head starts spinning after a while. Okay, so we have this. Then it goes down to a C sus chord. So you're going to bar across the 3rd fret, but you're going to play the 5th fret on the D and on the D and G strings. But what I do is play the 5th string, and then I skip to the 3rd and play the 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, back to the 3rd. So okay, and then the rest is the same. Here it is again. Now it just repeats that twice. It's really not too this seems more complicated than it is. You know, it's just kind of following the chords. So, like I said, grab the tab over at Patreon and you'll get all the frets. That's it, guys. Quite a bit there to chew on if you're new to this song, as far as trying to play it. And I think the toughest part is just getting it up to speed. A lot of the chugs are pretty fast. But take your time with it, and it's really worth learning this classic Queensryche. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Rock on.